to intervene. They present with us and they can do nothing but reassure them that I am going to do nothing for you. You are at this point a case of a non-treatable case. They usually present with infertility to guide people, and at that time it becomes very complex and very difficult to intervene. So this patient requires intervention from very early stage. So here is the role of pediatrician. A 6 or 7 year old girl or 10-year-old girl is not supposed to visit obstetrician because of social stigma attached to them. And these cases usually visit pediatricians, and most of us are not concerned of their problem. We are not very acquainted with pivotal problem. So I will try my best to make it a simple, not complex one. Although it is a very complex chapter, but I will try to make it a simple so that everybody will be able to take it up. What is puberty? It is a transitional phase between childhood and adulthood, during which an individual gradually acquires the capacity of sexuality and fertility under the influence of sex hormones. Pivotal pattern is well. Telarchy is the first time, followed by pubarchy and menarche after 2.5 years of telarchy. Pivotal trends in boys, gonadarchy and pubarchy appear simultaneously, and these are followed by enlargement of phallus. Actually, before dealing with delayed puberty, I want to only highlight main portion of normal puberty. These are cases normal. These are points for normal puberty. And breast development. These pivotal changes are classified according to Tanner stages. And breast development has 5 different stages. Pre-pivotal breast of childhood and palpable but barely visible breast bud is B2. And visible enlargement and elevation of the breast bud is B3. And projection of the nipple and areola is B4. And finally the areola recedes and only nipple projects. That is B5. And pubic hair development, PH1 is no pubic hair, PH2 is short and straight vellus hair, PH3 long dark curly hair on the labia majora, and PH4 hair straight to the mons pubis, and PH final inverted V pattern. In boys, testis below 4 ml is pre-pivotal. 4 to 6 ml with minimal or no elongation of penis is G2, and 6 to 8 ml testis with elongation of penis is G3, and G4 is testis between 10 to 12 ml, increase in length as well as width of penis, and G5 is testis more than 12 ml, final elongation and thickening of penis, final darkening of the scrotum. And this is a graphic depiction of how testis enlarges at the onset of puberty. You can see that after 12 to 13 years, testis rapidly enlarges in size, so that at 13 years of age, its size stabilizes. These are not the only external changes that take place during puberty, but there are certain internal changes too. Like in neonatal, uterine and cervical ratio is 1:2, and it is a spade shaped with a thick endometrial strip. But at the 2 years of age, uterine and cervical ratio become there is loss of endometrial strip and uterus becomes tubular, and in pivotal stage the uterus becomes pear-shaped with uterine by cervical ratio more than 1 and reappearance of endometrial strip. And that this is not the only thing, but ovary to develop many follicles, that is multifollicular ovary, but it should be differentiated from polycystic ovary. This is a tabular depiction of how with the onset of puberty at 11 years of age, the increase in uterine volume and ovarian volume. At 11 years of age, uterine volume is 1.9. At 13 years it is 11. And at 11 years of age, ovarian volume is 1.3, and at 13 years it is 3.7. That is what I want to convey to you, that with onset of puberty, there is rapid enlargement of all the internal organs. And with this, the vagina, which is usually in prepubertal stage, which is red and devoid of mucus, becomes estrogenized and so acquires an yellowish hue. And this is not the only, but the pH which was nearly neutral becomes highly acidic, and it confers certain degree of immunity to the genital organ. And all these pubertal changes take place under the influence of sex hormones, which are secreted by testes or ovaries, which is under the influence of FSH and LH secreted by pituitary, and pituitary in turn is stimulated by hypothalamus, by GnRH secreted from hypothalamus. And this whole axis is negatively inhibited by sex steroid. But the question is, what stimulates the hypothalamus at the onset of puberty to activate this whole HPG axis? There is a question whether it is accumulation or evolution of inhibition. Usually, at the earlier years, people used to think that there are certain things in the blood that stimulate the hypothalamus to trigger puberty. But later on, it was proved that no, it is not a stimulation, but it is loss of inhibition, evolution of inhibition that leads to pubertal onset of puberty. What are the factors in favor of this theory? Most of us might have seen newborns with completely large pills, and in girls occasional vaginal bleeding or breast hypertrophy. These are all indications that these newborns are under the influence of high level of sex steroids. You can see by and this is the penis of a small child, 2 to 3 months old child, and you can see that comparatively the penile length is very high. And that is the case of breast hypertrophy in a newborn. And this is, you can see, this is the depiction of estradiol level from 0 months up to 5 years, up to different stages of puberty. You can see that during early stage, 2, 4, 6 months of age, or up to 24 months, the estrogen levels are quite high, and this after 24 months it becomes low, and at the onset of puberty it again rises. So probably it is loss of inhibition rather than stimulation of the hypothalamus. And second, this is the level of FSH and LH cord blood to different stages of life, 0 to 0.5, 0.5 to 2 to 4 years. In years, you can see that at the very early stage of life, FSH and LH are quite high, and LH is more discriminatory. You can see that during 6 months of age, LH level is quite high, and it recedes to a low level only, and again rises only at the onset of puberty. So it is a loss of inhibition rather than stimulation that is the trigger of puberty. But what triggers this loss of onset? What triggers this puberty? What is the cause of loss of inhibition? Initially people used to think that it is the critical body weight that is important for this loss of inhibition. Since it has been seen that many children with anorexia nervosa or many chronic systemic diseases fail to enter into puberty at their normal age because their weight is very low. Unless they gain a sufficient amount of body weight, they fail to enter into puberty. So, it was thought that a critical body weight is important for entering into puberty. But later on, it was proved that no, it is not critical body weight, but it is critical BMI, which is important. How? You can see this BMI chart from 2 years to 17 years. What you can see that this is the 50th percentile curve. What you can see that at this BMI 16 up to 2 years of age, sex steroids are quite high as depicted previously, and gradually this BMI goes down and sex steroid too goes down, only to increase at the time of 11 years when the BMI again rises to 16 years. So it is BMI that is more important rather than body mass. Since body weight, 6-month child has very low body weight, but still she is in a state of high estrogen. So BMI is more important than body weight. But later on, it was proved that no, it is not BMI per se, but it's an important thing in the blood, that is leptin, which is more important for initiation of puberty. Leptin is thought to be the gate of puberty. Since it has been seen that many children with congenital leptin deficiency fail to enter into puberty in spite of their high BMI, high stature, high body weight, they fail to enter into puberty unless they are given exogenous leptin. So, in this whole figure, leptin is the most important hormone which is thought to be the gate of puberty. Celarchi 8 to 12 years, Pivarchi 10 to 12 years, Menarche 12 to 15 years, and Gonadarche in boys 9 to 14 years. And now what is delayed puberty? No Celarchi by 14 years, no Pivarchi by 14 years, no Menarche by 16 years, and no Gonadarche by 14 years in boys. And causes of pubertal delay. I am not going to tell you each and every cause of pivotal delay. Since the list is exhaustive and it will be very frustrating to all of us, and it will be not very easy thing. So I will only highlight those things which are important to differentiate from one cause to the other. Constitutional delay of growth and puberty is the most common cause of pivotal delay. It is the most common cause in boys and it is also the most common cause in girls. Although the constitutional growth and delay occurs more commonly in boys, but among girls too, it is the most common cause of growth delay, pivotal delay. And chronic systemic disease like anorexia nervosa, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis or gluten enteropathy, where body mass index is very low, is also the cause of pivotal delay. And then hypergonadotropic hypogonadism. Hypergonadotropic means FSH and LH are too high, but sex steroids are low. And hypogonadotropic hypogonadism, where FSH and LH are low and sex steroids are low. And here the cause in hyper, the cause lies in the ovary or testis, and in hypo, the cause lies either in the hypothalamus or in pituitary. But I want to make something clear to you, that is constitutional delay and chronic systemic disease too. These also are cases of hypogonadotrophy. Since in these cases FSH and LH2 are low, since although these are transient cases, but they are two, FSH and LH are two. So constitutional delay and chronic systemic disease are a cause of hypogonadotropic hypogonadism, but a transient in nature. And how can you differentiate? If the girl or boy comes below 14 years of age, so there are many causes, or it becomes very difficult to differentiate one from the other. And gradually as the age advances, the picture becomes more clear. So before 14 years, if bone age and height age and weight age are less than chronological age, it is most probably constitutional delay. If all these things are equal but low, it is constitutional delay, and child is expected to grow, enter into puberty at a later stage, normally 2 or 3 years later than otherwise. And in chronic systemic diseases, markedly reduced, and it is very marginally reduced. And these are features of chronic systemic disease. And if the boy is tall and stature with delayed bone age, it is a case of Klinefelter syndrome. It is the only condition in medical literature where tall stature is associated with delayed bone age. And tall stature with pivotal delay in a girl is a Turner syndrome, unless proved otherwise. And so, what is the way to differentiate between all these things? These are clinical criteria, but certain lab criteria too can differentiate it. GNRH accumulation test. GNRH accumulation test is based on the principle that gonadotropin secretion following a booster dose of GNRH depends upon prior exposure of gonadotrope to GNRH. When prior exposure? During fetal life or during neonatal life. So, if no increase in gonadotropin indicates no prior exposure and permanent hypogonadotropy, since there was some anatomical problem during development of the fetus, anatomical problem in the pituitary hypothalamus, that has led to pivotal delay. And if there is increase in LHFSS, there is increase if there is increase in LH and FSH, it is a sign that her pituitary and hypothalamus are intact and she is going to enter into puberty if her ovaries or testes are normal. Or that is, it may be constitutional delay that he will enter into puberty at a later stage. This is the graphic depiction of GnRH stimulation test. Basal and peak LH and estradiol after GnRH stimulation test in different stages of development. In the newborn, it is quite high, and during childhood it becomes low, and again after 10 years of age, LH and FSH, FSH and estradiol rise rapidly after GnRH stimulation. And between 14 to 16 years of age, if the boy comes between 14 to 16 years of age, most of the we have to differentiate between these things. Testosterone challenge test. 100 mg of testosterone IM every month for 6 months, and serum testosterone measured after 3 months of last injection. And if the testosterone level is more than 300 mg per dl, it is suggestive of constitutional delay. And if it is still below 200 mg, it is suggestive of hypogonadotropic hypogonadism. This boy was 50 years of age, probably, and he was short height too. He was not seen by his peers for short height. He was seen by his peers for his short penis. And so, when he came to me, I analyzed his data, and I suspected that it may be a case of constitutional delay of growth and puberty, since his bone age, weight age, height age, all were equally, and 12 years of age. So he was expected to enter into puberty at a later stage, and he was seen by he had psychological problems. So I gave him 6 injections of testosterone, and after 6 months, this is the picture of the genital. He has grown his pubic hair, his penis and the scrotum too has grown. So, and this was the case of constitutional delay of growth and puberty. And after 16 years of age, all things are gone. Constitutional delay have gone. Chronic systemic disease cases too might have gained weight and entered into puberty, but still they have not gone into puberty. There are only 2 conditions that has to differentiate it. Either it is a hypogonadotropic hypergonadism or it is hypergonadotropic hypogonadism. And so, what is pivotal induction? It is exogenous administration of sex-appropriate hormone to induce pivotal changes in cases of permanent hypogonadism. It should be done not below 12 years in girls and not below 13 years in boys. Girls, ethinyl tetradiol 5 microgram per day, increment of 5 microgram per day every 6 months, achieve full replacement dose of 20 microgram per day in 2 years. After 2 years, or when the endometrial cyst is more than 5 ml, 20 microgram per day of ethinyl tetradiol from day 1 to 21 of calendar month, and 10 mg of medroxyprogesterone from day 11 to 21. But it is only for pivotal changes. For sexual fertility, you have to administer GnRH and HCG. For boys, testosterone 100 mg at the initial, with 50 mg increment at every 6 months, so that in 2 to 3 years of age, full replacement dose of 400 mg per 4 weeks is given. But when sexuality is desired, after adolescent when sexuality is desired, this 400 mg per 4 weeks is not appropriate. Since at the onset, for first 2 or 3 days of gestation, they will develop hypersexuality and desire to have sex, and at the end of month, the sex exploit level will be subnormal, and they will have difficulty having sex. So this dose is divided into 2 of 200 mg every 2 weeks. So that there is no supranormal and subnormal dose. But for fertility, SPG and human GnRH analog is to be given. Thank you.
Very excellent presentation of this complex subject. Now,
it is quite common here. 1 in 5 or 600 cases we can get, but actually we do not look for them. Sure. And most of the cases came into attention of obstetrician. They present with infertility.
No, like my question is that, see, as you said, it's 1:600
Yes.
cases of the normal. So almost as a pediatrician or as a obstetrician gynecologist, you should see at least 1 case per month on an average. So what should we look for to diagnose a Klinefelter syndrome? Since we have time here.
Yes. For suspected case of Klinefelter syndrome, these cases are told from their very beginning. Told for their age, chronological age, told from the very beginning, and their penile length is small in childhood with certain degree of mental retardation. There may or may not be mental retardation, and at the onset of puberty, they can enter into puberty. They can even enter into puberty normally, but they fail to maintain puberty.
Sustained puberty.
They present with gynecomastia. My one patient presented with gynecomastia, huge enlargement of both breast, and so gynecomastia is the presentation of the puberty, and in the childhood, tall stature with low penile length and delayed bone age is the way of presentation.
So what is chronology?
In girls, how long we should get until 16 years, or we can do artificial induction when before 16 years?
If you have diagnosed it, that she is having a case of permanent hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism, you have to induce puberty at 12 years of age. And even before that, if it is a case of permanent hypogonadotrophic, like Turner syndrome, you have to use ultra low dose of estrogen at 5 to 6 years of age. From 5 to 6 years age, it improves their cognition and improves their height. And at 12 years of age, if it is present, you have to use it in a very low dose fashion, since a very low dose estrogen will increase their height. But if you use a moderate dose of estrogen, it will hamper its height gain. Since estrogen causes rapid epiphyseal fusion, so estrogen should not be used in a moderate dose. It should be used in a very low dose for 2 or 3 years, and then you can increase. There is no harm entering into puberty at a later stage. But if you over-intensively treat it, she will have ultimately short gestation.
100 goes.
Yes, 100 goes.
Please explain this slide.
Testosterone challenge test. 100 mg of testosterone IM every month for 6 months, and serum testosterone measured after 3 months of last injection, means at the 9 months, and testosterone is measured. If it is more than 300 mg per day, it is suggestive of constitutional delay, means temporary delay, and now the boy has entered into puberty. Under this, testosterone has given it a tempo to enter into puberty, and it is now going to sustain. And if it is still below 200 mg, means your testosterone what you have given is measured, and there is no spontaneous rise in testosterone from the child. So it is below 200.
So this test can be used as a diagnostic for differentiating between
Yes.
hypergonadotropic
No. For constitutional delay.
constitutional delay and hypogonadotropic. This testosterone test.
In hypogonadism and constitutional delay too, in both these conditions, testosterone will be low, FSH and LH will be low. Both will be low.
I think constitutional delay plus hypogonadism.
In both the conditions, FSH, LH will be low and testosterone will be low. And it will be difficult to differentiate whether it is a case of permanent hypogonadotropic or if whether the child is going to enter into puberty at a later stage and it will be less as such. So this is a test that can differentiate it.
Can there is in abroad there is a group like Turner Girl syndrome and girls they lead normal life. It is
Turner?
Turner syndrome girls.
Yes.
They have something like that
Yes.
more than 14 years.
Below 14 years. Below 14 years they are very cold. And you have to differentiate between all those things. And as the age advances, the causes gradually wane. And below 14 years, it is the no. So if it is before 14 years, it can be a case of constitutional delay. It can be due to hypogonadotropism or due to hypergonadotropism. There are too many possibilities, and if bone age, height age, weight age, all these things are equal, but below chronological, it is most probably due to constitutional delay. Since in constitutional delay, all of these things are equal. And in chronic systemic disease, weight is markedly reduced. So, if the weight is markedly reduced, it is probably a case of chronic systemic disease like chronic GI infection or chronic asthma, uncontrolled asthma. And if tall lecture with delayed bone age, Pilter syndrome will acquire. And short stature with pivotal delay in a girl, Turner syndrome is the first problem. Thank you.
Any question?
Okay.
Good evening everyone, respected seniors and my dear friends. Just I want to take few seconds of yours to make an important announcement about Isoprac Society in Sitamarhi. We have started Isoprac Society and as instructed by Dr. Manju Gita Mishra Madam, I have forwarded all the list of members from here. And entire list of, she has nominated the following members as office bearers for this year. President Dr. Anjana Prasad, Secretary myself, Dr. Mrs. Madhu Singh, and Joint Secretary Dr. Sanjay Kumar. In the next meeting, we will decide the other office bearers, extend the list of the other office bearers. Thank you.
एक मिनट मैडम हाँ एक मिनट इधर घूम जाइए सर ना